up to your expectation. Neither are you in to live up to mine. I don't owe no one, no obligation. No one owes me none, so everything is fine, fine. I said I am that I am, I am, I am, I am. I am that I am, I am, I am, I am. I am that I am, I am, I am, I am. I am that I am, I am, I am, I am. Serious business. There is a time for everything, and for everything there is a season. So man and man must reason. So I think it's prime time that we address some more issues. Simple information I will use. No rocket science to get you confused. So relax your mind, make sure everything is fine while I take you down a poetic line. Trick us with campaign promises, we won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain. You now refrain. I remember you say Liberation Day, and I ask, you sure is that you wanna say? Cause you sounded so good to believe. And deception is a powerful thing when you lose your rightful thinking. So we voted for the bling. But you trick us with campaign promises, we won't say at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain. You now refrain. Yellow, yellow all the way is what everybody say. Cell phone ring, man answering. Yellow, yellow, no hello. Teeth get yellow, house get yellow, bus get yellow, man get yellow, even green.
And good night to you, Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. It is another edition of Talking Points. My name is Sheldon Scott. I'll be here with you until the 10 o'clock hour. It's now 3 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock on the Spice Isle of Grenada.
You now refrain.
To those of you joining us locally, regionally, internationally, we say a special good night to each and every one of you. Gonna do my round of shout-outs in a short while.
Not even things created by the great Jehovah. So the green grass ceased to grow to allow the yellow vibes to flow. But boy, one song I sing, one bell a ring. If we didn't know, we never know yellow would have treat us so. When you trick us with campaign promises, we won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain. You now refrain. They began with the blame game, giving NNP more fame. Past administration, the cause of frustration. Past administration, chief of corruption. Then to economic...
It's amazing how you could have a song from back after 2008 and nearly exactly what was being said now then falls in the pot of the party in power right now. Just amazing. You just have to change some of the names and it's the same exact same story.
We won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain. You now refrain. All your projects are stuck in a pipeline. But when asked, how is the country going? Oh, fine. We are looking into it. Never mind. Only projects in pipeline. No water to cool down the yellow temperature. When will they start? Please answer.
Let me say a special good night to you, Wilma. I see that you're on the first one on tonight on the YouTube channel, Wilma. Christine, a special good night to you. And Marilyn, a special good night to you as well.
The vexed face. When you trick us with campaign promises, we won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain. You now refrain. Busy governing, busy managing, busy politicking, busy neglecting, busy inflicting poverty and hunger.
And to those of you over on Facebook, Patsy, Annette, Mish, Terrace, Angela, Jill, is it Jill or Gil? Gil. Steve, Yvonne, I'm saying a special good night to each and every one of you. Hope all of you are having a wonderful night tonight. Yeah, we're going to have a nice discussion tonight,
When you send SSU to between trick us with campaign promises, we won't say it is. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain. You now refrain. So
He
we've
says,
heard about your internal.
let me say goodnight to you too, Roll, and I'm seeing Keisha, Maria. Who else is there? Yeah, I called out Ingrid already. Janet, Norma, Kenneth. I'm saying good night to each and every one of you. Remember to like and share. Spread the information. Talking Points is on.
Good, cause it's a long time, Grenada.
And remember, we are on Mondays to Thursdays, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m.
We won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in.
And we thank you for the opportunity to let us into your homes, your business places, yeah?
Refrain.
Into your vehicles.
The Bible, God had a plan.
We're also live on 89.5 CRFM Community Radio on your frequency modulated. Good night to you, Campesh. Good night to you, Quincy.
No chicken before the hatch. Politicians sometimes
And all of the listeners who are listening via that frequency.
vote. They now sing one note, but here comes foot.
Remember, a little later on, we'll be opening the phone lines and you can call in on 440-7377. And for those of you in the Grenadian diaspora, 347-329-3101.
It is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain. So you the people say, next election, not me stain that finger. Cause after we say enough from Jonah, here comes still with more pressure and hunger. And from the mouth of Grenada, only one thing I utter. The Congress neglect us, the Congress fail us. And I could never understand the distribution.
And a special good night to all of the NDC parliamentarians listening. We know that you all are tuning in every night too. Nice. So we're saying a special good night to each and every one of you.
Salt and drink now as a water. When you trick us with campaign promises, we want.
You know, one thing I noticed tonight, especially as it's a rainy night, and it's a continuing problem. It's a problem that has existed before. So, yeah, I'm being fair here. It's a problem that existed before and that various mechanisms were being looked at how you could address it. Is the issue of all the people that are there waiting to try and find transportation to go up on the East Coast and those waiting trying to find transportation to go up on the West Coast. It's really difficult for these individuals. And here's what, I've heard a lot of people speaking and saying that they think the best direction to go is for the government to bring in some big bus and have the buses going up on the West Coast and the East Coast. And so I tend not to agree. And I'll tell you why. I think one of the problems that you already have is that you have congested roadways. We're seeing what's happening in the south of the island. I, for one, as I was telling some individuals earlier today, I don't want anything with having to come outside like the week leading up to Christmas and the week of Christmas. Because if right now it's not fully into the Yuletide season and you're seeing that kind of traffic going into and coming out of the south of the island, I could very well imagine what is going to be taking place the week before Christmas and the week of Christmas into the south of the island and into the capital itself as well. So as much as me personally, as much as I can avoid going into those areas, I wouldn't go into them. And remember, for those of you that may not have been in Grenada for the last 20 or so years or even more than that, Everard, good night to you. Yeah, seen Everard there as well. Nice. A special good night to you, Everard. Yeah. You remember the days when, and I was mentioning that again to somebody recently. Remember the days when you could have basically play cricket in the road? Yeah, you could have played cricket in the road. In fact, I used to live in Springs and we used to play cricket in the road because vehicles were few and far between. On a Sunday, you gain several rounds of bowling taking place before a vehicle would pass and you have to shift to the side. But now, you can't afford to try and play cricket in the road in a place like Springs, in fact, anywhere, because of the volume of traffic. Because people have got to the stage that they have vehicles now. Sometimes one household has 2 and 3 vehicles. So there has been an improvement in the standard of life over the years of people. And you have to understand this, listeners and viewers. The younger people don't know what I'm speaking about here. They don't know about that. And you know why they don't know about that? Because they were either not around, or the people who do know are not telling them about it. So they don't know about these things. They don't know that years ago, if you tell them right now, go and play a wrong at cricket in the road in Springs, they'll ask if you're mad. They'll ask if you're crazy. Because of the volume of vehicles. But we could have done that back in those days because it hardly had anything on the road. But now we're seeing more and more vehicles, and every month you're seeing more and more vehicles arriving, coming into the country. It says something. It says that what was being done with the Grenadian economy before put many people into a position, whereas years ago they could not have afforded to own a vehicle, that they could own a vehicle at this time. And as such, when I look at things like what is taking place right now, Brother Devon, one of these days you had a fall in, Devon. I understand where you're getting on it. You had a fall in, Rhonda. Good night to you. Yeah. Devon, you had a fall in, brother. Nice. Yeah. Now, on the West Coast, you're having that traffic problem. On the East Coast, you're having that traffic problem. My suggestion would be to look at, in the near future, something similar to what you have in Trinidad. Yeah, a ferry service. So that people from different parts of St. Patrick can go, whether it's in the breakwater, wherever it is there. They have a parking area there. You go, you park, and you take a ferry from there that comes down to St. John. And then when you get to St. John, the ferry picks up you down there. You have parking arranged in some location that vehicles could park there. You pick up whoever have to pick up there. And who want to drop off, who just was going from St. Patrick's to St. John, you drop off. And then from St. John, the next stop, Port St. George. That's how I view it. And then that would lessen the amount of vehicles that have to be traversing from the north of the island down to the south of the island. People have the option, if they want to take a bus, they take a bus. If they want to take the ferry, they take the ferry. But you don't have to drive down from the north of the island down to the south of the island. Because I remember that in discussing the work that was taking place in St. Patrick with the reclamation and the sea defense and so taking place there, there were discussions that were taking place in relation to the Osprey Express making a stop in St. Patrick. Because here's this, and it's been going on for a lot of years. You living in St. Patrick, you have to leave St. Patrick, drive down or take a bus or whatever to get down to town to take the Osprey Express to pass St. Patrick's on the way back up. And then when you leave Carriacou and you're coming back down, you have to pass St. Patrick. Pass it straight. Go down to town and then get transportation to head back up. So one of the ideas that was being put forward was to have a point in St. Patrick where the Osprey Express could have docked. So those who want to get off in St. Patrick, they can get off in St. Patrick and they go about their business. And who wants to get on in St. Patrick and take the journey further down could do that. So I remember discussions were taking place along those lines. And I'm just saying this because when you look now and you see what is taking place with people, loads of people, just different locations trying to reach home, because as soon as some rain fall, they're already in dry weather is a problem when it comes to getting home on the West Coast and on the East Coast. There's already a problem when that's taking place. And with that taking place, yeah, when rain falls, it's even worse because the one or two buses that would still run, they decide they're not running when this happens. So that's just a thought that I thought I should put out there, that probably we have to look at a ferry service. Even if you have a ferry service between the south of the island, South St. George, like Grandance area, and Tong. Because look at the volume of traffic that's going down there. I would say that the best idea is to have a water taxi service running between town and Grandance. And the busmen can't vex with that, because when the people reach down in the south of the island and they have to go, let's say they have to go inside Lansopine or they have to go down the stretch or wherever, they still need to take a bus. But it lessens the volume of traffic that's between Grandance and Tong. And these are the kind of solutions that you have to be looking for. And these are the kind of things that I know previously were being discussed. And you were looking at the feasibility of it. All coming up to election, you realize there were people at different locations. doing a feasibility study. You may not have noticed them, but there were some young people at the side of the road, and they were taking notes of the amount of vehicles, the volume of vehicles that were passing at different locations, different times of the day, so that a proper traffic plan could be put in place, so that this congestion that we see taking place right now doesn't take place. And I'm telling you this because you know some people will come and say it's them that was putting it in place, but this is what was taking place before. We're seeing the traffic lights. I realize on a weekend and so they're doing some work on the traffic lights. The ones at Pandy Gap there, I see they're doing some work on that. Those down by Radisson, I see they're doing some work there as well. And in town, I see them doing some work. At least that's the locations I've seen. That they previously were traffic lights and they're doing some work on the traffic lights in those locations. Again, something that was organized by the New National Party administration. The funds were found for that under the New National Party administration and just being executed at this point in time. One of the problems I have though is that when you decide to do things like patch the road in the middle of traffic at this time of year, in certain years, yes, you want the road patched. Everybody wants the road patched. But I think some consideration to the timing of when you look to do things like that. You're going down into Granance yesterday and you're taking 30 minutes from one location to another location simply because they're patching an area and you can't pass that area. Well, what about later, like nighttime? What about on the weekends and so on? The Saturdays at a time when not the Saturdays and the month when they have a lot of traffic, but other Saturdays and the Sundays and so, to do that sort of work. Because the inconvenience that it causes to the people that are passing. Yes, again, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying it has to be done. But I'm saying if you have a proper minister of implementation, they would be ensuring that these things happen in a way that has no large impact on the general public. But you're hearing about implementation and boots on the ground and all this kind of thing, but it's helter-skelter. And then too, they're doing it at the points in time, and I'm not blaming the people doing the work. Is people send them to do the work and they send them out and they go and do it. So I have nothing against the people doing the work. And plus they're employed, so I'm glad. I don't care who it is. Once they're employed, I'm happy for them. But you're doing it that way too because you want people to see it happening for you to say, well, boots on the ground. We have people here and we have people there. And inconveniencing people with that. So this is something that they need to look at. The timing. Yes, everybody wants it done. But it's the timing that you do it. And yes, it's just a bit of critical thinking. Good night to you, Junior. Yeah? It's just a little bit of critical thinking. That instead of saying, let me buy some big bus and put on the road between St. Patrick and St. George, where you're going to just be adding more traffic onto the road between St. Patrick and St. George. Either you utilize the Osprey, you make the facility in St. Patrick, you ask the people who are working along with the New National Party about the plan, you implement that plan to have a proper port facility developed in St. Patrick so that the Osprey could stop there and it could pick up some people and bring down, or that you have another ferry that the government could run it. Because it happens in Trinidad. That's one of the ways that they got less traffic between the north and the south on the roads. They implemented the ferry service. And when you have one ferry going down, you have one going up. And everybody knows the times that they leave and that kind of thing, and they provide parking. So you could park your vehicle, you come from whichever part of St. George and you park your vehicle at the port, and then you take the ferry and you go up, and then you take a taxi or you take a bus when you reach to St. Patrick to go to the short distance that you have to go, wherever it is you have to go. And the people who doing the short runs in St. Patrick, or the people who would develop that now start to do the short run around Granance area, they make a quick dollar because they know the ferry coming in at that time. You're wrong, you jump the ferry, you're going down, this one going down Lansapine, this one going down in Valley, who going down in True Blue, wherever it is, you could operate that way. Yeah, and you earn income to the people that are paying to use the ferry and the parking. So it's simple, thinking out of the box. But everybody, get some big bus and put on the road. It is more difficult for the East Coast because you know the kind of water we have on the East Coast. You know there is some rough water on the eastern side of the island. So it's more difficult to do something like that on that side. in that case, I think that some discussions need to take place with the busmen as to how you can move forward with that. I know that the Grenville Bus Association at one time, I don't know if they still have it, they had a roster of who runs on a Sunday and what time they're coming down and that sort of thing. I don't know if it still takes place, but I know that was something that they had in place, and that's probably something that needs to be looked at for the night time. Because, you know, we have a bad habit here. As soon as a big bus, somebody buys a big bus. Queen D, good night. Dexter, good night. As soon as somebody buys a big bus and they put the big bus on the road going up the East Coast, all other small buses looking to run on the East Coast. I saw it happen before. And that big bus get fight down until they end up running again. You know, but we have a problem. You have people that are on the East Coast trying to get home, on the West Coast trying to get home, and I assume many other areas that are trying to get home. So the issue of public transportation and the possible utilization of a ferry service between the north and the south of the island with stops in either St. Mark, if you want to stop in St. Mark and St. John. But with that service being put in place, I think it's absolutely necessary, all right? Nice. So that's the first one we on for tonight.
This is not politics. Please don't forget, I'm just practicing to be a poet. Not qualified as yet.
I know some people that say, but why you getting them idea? It's not they getting them idea. Hear it here first. So if you see it implemented, and you know it come from here. If you hear them start to talk about that, and you know it's here it come from. And if it is implemented, and it's for the betterment of all of us. I ain't doing like how some people used to do in opposition at a point in time. They used to say, don't say anything because it's not my government in power, so don't tell them anything. No, it's one Grenada. All of us have to live inside here, you know. All of us have to breathe the same air inside here. All of us have to drink the same water and breathe the same air. We have to use the same road. If we get sick, we have to go to the same hospitals. So if you have an idea, that would be for the development of Grenada. Don't look at it as, well, my government now in power, I ain't saying anything. No. Speak up and speak out. And then some people get upset when you speak up and speak out. Oh, you only know that now. The Dunce statement of the year. If I have to give an award for Dunce statement of the year, it would be for the statement, it's only now all you know that. No, if it is good for the country, it's good for the country. Yeah? And I'm saying that I believe that this idea is an idea that can be looked at and can be utilized for the betterment of the country. So when I hear they start to talk about that, you know where they get it from. All right? You know where they get it from. Pity Martinique. Pity Martinique ain't do yet. Oh, the jetty in Pity Martinique. Yeah, I wonder what's going on with the jetty in Pity Martinique and so, because I know the Honorable Kindra Matthew Stewart had put measures in place to ensure that that was done. Because the NDC, they're operating on the new National Party budget, you know. And they've said that. So while some people jumping up when they see a piece of road fix, or they see something done and they're jumping up about, hey, well look, NDC doing this, NDC ain't doing nothing. These are the remainders of the NNP budget that was read last year. The monies were put there. The projects were earmarked, and anybody could go and get a copy of the budget document, and it's there. You can listen to the budget statement, and you hear many of the things that you see taking place. You saw them in the budget statement and the budget document. Whether it's the traffic lights, whether it's road repair. But then you have the areas that are of concern. Serious concern. The reduction in the number of the bushing program cycles. Because there are many people out there that were looking forward to that. Not just for the Christmas. And this is where a lot of people get it wrong. They think that a lot of these people looking forward to that just for the Christmas. It's not just for the Christmas. They look forward to that because that is something that helps them into the new year. We always say that January is the hardest month. January, like it have 40-something days. Because by the time you get your salary at the middle of December, the next time is 6 weeks after that. So you have to learn about endurance. 6 weeks after that, roughly, that you're going to receive your next salary. So we know that it is a hard time for a lot of people. And many people, they use the debushing program as a means to subsidize their ability to survive, basically, to get food stuff, to put things in place. Because yes, September gone, you may have bought new shoes and uniform and so for your child, but remember, children have a thing called growth spurts. So you might have buy a pants in September for a child, and by December they look like they're passing through flood waters, or they're imitating Michael Jackson in Moonwalker, because all they're seeing is the socks. That's what happens. And people were looking forward to being engaged in the debushing program. And that's not just people who are supporters of the new National Party, you know. People who are supporters of the National Democratic Congress too, they are disappointed. Because the number of cycles have been reduced, which means that less people would get the opportunity. Less people would get the opportunity to earn a little dollar. And this after you already had one of the St. Patrick MPs, the St. Patrick East MP, the Honorable Cornwall. Cornwall was the man that lose his head back in the day. Yeah. Cornwall, who was saying that they had to look at a 8-4 for the debushers. No, I don't think they understand. And you see, that's the thing. The kind of aloofness and the not mixing and interacting with people that's caused this kind of thing. Because anybody that knows about the debushing program knows that these people, is not that they're lazy and they're gone before 12 o'clock. It is that they are holding down multiple jobs. Debushing ain't providing enough money for you to totally survive on. It is an assistance. It helps. So many teams would come out and they would know they have to do this 100 yards or this 200 yards of the side of the road, on both sides of the road. They know they have to cover that in the morning. So they would come out and they say, well, okay, we're going to come out here for 5 o'clock and we're going to do that. We're wrapping up by 8. So they come out and they do what they have to do. It's not that they don't complete the task and they're gone. They complete the task that they have been given. They beautify the area so that you ain't passing and your nice new vehicle getting scratched. Yeah, it's not a situation like that. They complete what they're supposed to do in the space of time that they have to complete it. And then they go about. They may be working in some other job at some other location. And that is 3 something or 4 something that they get. I think it's 4 something they get. 420 or 430 or something that they get on a fortnight. That goes towards helping. That might pay their electricity, and you hear people complaining about the price of electricity. That might go towards helping pay the electricity. That might buy the cooking gas. It might come in just at the point in time that the cooking gas conk out on them. Or it might come in handy for even things like medication for some family member that not 100%. So to tell them now that you want them to work 8 to 4, you're taking away their ability to find a second job. And Grenadians out there in the diaspora, those of you that are out there right now in Brooklyn, those of you in Canada, you know what it is to hold down multiple jobs. You know what it is. Because some of you, you're going to work in the morning for 8 a.m. to a job that you might complete around 12 or 1 or whatever. And then you just go home and change and you hit another job in the afternoon time. And then you're back home around 6, 7 or so. And then some of you still hit another job again in the night. That's why people down here, you send and you ask for barrel and you send and you ask for that and so. A lot of these people, they're working multiple jobs to be able to do that for you. 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And if people are having the ability to have multiple jobs here to try and make ends meet, not because they're greedy, not because they're selfish, but because sometimes they don't even have the education level. Sometimes they don't even have the education level to hold on a job that would pay them the kind of money that they really need to survive. So they have to hold on multiple jobs. I know what it is, you know. I work multiple jobs at points in time. I remember working with a media entity and still doing security. But then you come and say, well, no, this thing, we don't find enough is being done under the debushing program. We go in and put them to 8 to 4. It shows that you don't understand what is taking place in the debushing program. And it's to see their face when they're talking about the debushing program and the people in the debushing program. It's to see how they just screw up their face. Like if they're talking about something that fall from a cow in the pasture that does help fertilize the soil. That's how they set up their face when they're talking about things like the debushing program and the people under the debushing program. That's how they refer to them. In a negative light. It's the same way when they're speaking about Imani. And again, I'm looking forward to the budget because I want to know what is taking place with the young people who are under the Imani program. Because if I remember correctly, I think it was $35 million was placed under the Ministry of Youth for the Imani program in the last iteration, the last budget. I could be wrong. I think it's 35 million. I'll double check my figures. Anybody that know the figure exactly, get your boy a WhatsApp. Yeah, I know some of all you know the figure, the straight figure for Imani. Now you're saying that you're not putting that money under the Ministry of Youth again. My simple question, and I know it won't be answered until budget, is if that money is now going to be placed under the National Training Agency, and that these young people who were receiving a stipend, and they go in courts with their local stipend and get a local item and so, you know. They're going by whether it's personal and they make up their account and they pay what they could pay and they bill a look at something. They've been using that money properly. But every time you hear them refer to the Imani and them as a see how they just put their face when they're talking about the Imani trainees. It's to see how they think about the Imani trainees. This thing called Imani. And I said it to you before on previous programs, you know. I think we have, as Grenadians, have allowed them to turn Imani into a bad word. And I'm looking at Dexter here. And Dexter said, I used to work 2 jobs when living in Canada. 7 to 3 p.m. 6 to 11 p.m. You understand? And Keisha, you're asking a proper question. How long would these young people stay under the National Training Agency? So are you saying that the people who are presently under the Imani program, you're going to put them under the training agency, maybe for 6 months, maybe for 1 year, and then they're out, and then you bring in a next set of people. Meanwhile, these they're out. You get a job, you don't get a job, you're out. Again, I just believe it's a bit of incompetence that they have an incompetent minister. Minister that don't know his foot from his toenail. He ain't know a hair follicle from a nail follicle. He ain't know nothing. Because you even see when they're asking questions in the town hall meeting, they're asking questions that the minister is supposed to be answering. The minister in charge of youth and sport, he's supposed to be answering. And instead of him answering the question, the prime minister called somebody who is some kind of advisor or what in the audience to come and answer the question. And then when the person was leaving, they had to call them back again to answer. I mean, that's supposed to be embarrassing for the minister. Because the person is not even an advisor in that ministry as far as I know. But that's the kind of thing that they're doing. What is the plan? What is the strategy moving forward with these young people? And I think we're talking a little over 2,000 of them. Because if you're taking the money out of the Ministry of Youth, it's no longer, that's not going to be under the Ministry of Youth. Because you know you have an incompetent minister. You know that minister make no sense. They don't understand nothing about youth development. They know nothing. All they could do is take picture and go on Facebook. That's all they could do. Yeah? Yap, yap, yap. Take picture and go on Facebook. Grin. And then, yeah. That is minister of Facebook. I used to like to use that term. No, they are ministers of Facebook. Multiple. But what is actually being done? You look at the state of the playing fields. You had one individual. Let me use one example. I'm going to St. John. You have playing fields in St. John that had one particular contractor that was doing the playing fields in St. John. At the end of the election, that contractor was removed. Those study them would have said they didn't move the contractors and them that doing the playing field, and so they got rid of the one that was doing some of the playing fields in St. John. You take a look at some of those playing fields right now. It looked like if they cut in the playing field with cutlass. I ain't saying they ain't trying. Don't get me wrong. I ain't saying they ain't trying. But you got rid of a contractor because of the perception that that individual is a supporter of the new National Party. You perceive them. You don't know. You just perceive that the individual is a supporter of the new National Party. And then you had to get a job for your friends. Yeah, well, okay. I buy it. Okay. But if you're doing that, get people who competent to do the job instead of the chang thing that you see taking place in some of the playing fields in St. John right now. Then you see the issue letters to the different contractors all over the island, then they have to take back the letters. Because like they didn't realize that you're going into the sporting season. Yeah, you're going into the full season. You have football, you have cricket, you're going into dry season. Football, cricket, all these things taking place. You have school sports. The first few sports are going to be starting up as soon after the Christmas, and you see you get into January, and so you have sports starting to ramp up, and so then you have Independence Road Relay, all those things coming up, and then after that, you're going to more school sports, then what's supposed to be intercol and the primary school sports and all of that. And with all of that coming up in just a few months, what do? You send letters to fire all the people that was cutting the playing fields around the island. And then you have to come and take it back because somebody tell you. And then you try to put the blame on the permanent secretary in the ministry. As if everybody don't know the permanent secretary just has to follow the instructions that come from cabinet or the minister. The permanent secretary can't take on their own and just send letter for all these people. They have to get instructions. But again, that's what I tell you. You have incompetence there. There is a lack of proper leadership in that ministry. But what do you expect? Because there's a lack of leadership from the top. I wouldn't be surprised when you see in a few months that there's a cabinet reshuffle. I mean, if you shuffle a pack of jokers, it's just one joker ending up on top and the next one end up in the center and one end up on the below. And you understand? If you shuffle a pack of jokers, there's only jokers go come out on top. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a cabinet shuffle sooner rather than later. Especially when it comes, and you all know, when it comes to the Ministry of Youth and Sport and the Ministry of Culture as well. These are ministries that are close to my heart. But when I see that level of incompetence, lack of understanding in relation to it, and no proper guidance, so you have to be sending letter and taking back letter, and that kind of nonsense that's going on. And don't even get me started on what's taking place in the National Lottery Authority. While you feel I'm afraid to talk about the National Lottery Authority, how it is being raided, and the money being taken out of the National Lottery Authority for all kind of crazy things. So all you think that I don't know what's taking place with the National Lottery Authority? Listen, the funds in the National Lottery Authority are supposed to be used for specific things, right? Youth, culture, and sports. For instance, if a team is leaving Grenada to travel to another island, they could receive financial assistance by the Grenada National Lottery Authority, right? For the upkeep of a particular sporting facility or the refurbishment, you may be able to get funds from the National Lottery Authority, right? A cultural group, let's say we're sending a cultural group to China, and they need some, and usually the Chinese tell you they come to China. They usually fund most of it. But you might have to find additional money to give to the people that are going. You would do that through the Lottery Authority. And one or two other little community projects that are in line with community development, like fixing a community center, or upgrading a community center or something. You could do that through the National Lottery Authority. Yeah? Upgrading a playing field, lighting a playing field. You could do that through the National Lottery Authority. But this government came in and found a lot of money, a couple million well, in the National Lottery Authority and ask yourself what is taking place with that money right now. They don't like me to talk about money, you know. But they could talk about me. But they can't say what I'm saying is not true. They can't say what I'm saying is not factual. The discussion is not me. The discussion is what I'm talking about, what is taking place with the funds that were there when you all came into office in the National Lottery Authority, and what is taking place with those funds right now. What are those funds being utilized for? Are they being utilized under youth sport and the creative arts and that kind of thing? Yeah? Hiring all kind of people under the National Lottery Authority. No, all you think what you do last week would have shut me up from talking about the National Lottery Authority. I know all you trying. No, now self are interested in the National Lottery Authority. All you wrong. Now self are interested in knowing what is going on with the National Lottery Authority. Yeah? Who are you hiring? Let me see what happened there. $18,000 to a particular beach resort to accommodate people. Yeah? $18,000 from National Lottery Authority to a particular hotel in the south of the island. Right? That is closely aligned to the NDC. Huh. So if you like getting information, all you want to see the check? Yeah? All you want to see the check? Go right ahead. Ask me. Yeah? Ask me. What is taking place with the funds that are under the National Lottery? In fact, I would very like to see the report laid in Parliament in relation to the Grenada National Lotteries Authority. Because some of them feel I'm afraid to talk about the National Lottery Authority. No, I'm talking about it. And again, it falls under, again, that same minister that don't seem to know he angled from his knee. So all of this nonsense is taking place. All the money in lottery being spent on all kind of nonsense and frivolous things. That is what is taking place. And then you have the Marketing and National Importing Board. And people who are owed by the National Importing Board, the Marketing and National Importing Board, are saying that they're having problems in getting their money. They don't know what's taking place there. And a certain person who is now in a senior position there is asking for the numbers of the different people that producing things and so on, because they're looking past the National Importing Board, the Marketing and National Importing Board, to their own personal thing. So they're collecting numbers and all kind of thing. They want numbers of people who producing different things and so on, because they're looking to set the self up. And to hell was the Marketing and National Importing Board, as far as they are concerned. What's taking place there? You could go walk into the Marketing and National Importing Board, you realize like the staff depressed. Seriously. When you're walking there, you realize like the staff depressed. You're going there, you're looking for certain items and so on. Months, you can't see some of them. And it has nothing to do with the staff. The staff at the Grenada Marketing and National Importing Board are excellent people. Bar none. All of them, excellent people. Wonderful, hard workers, dedicated people. But again, you could go in there and you see the people look depressed. They look stressed out. You understand? That's the kind of thing that you see taking place. And then when you talk about it, what do? They come and they try. No, friend, you ain't asking me that one day. I go talk to you after. You ain't... They made me lose my chain of thought, you know. So the Marketing and National Importing Board, that is something that... Because they're working together with about what? 1,500, 1,500 at least farmers and producers at different parts of the island. They're supposed to be working along with these people. They are also supposed to be the main body importing certain items into Grenada. But instead of focusing on how you're going to develop it, and nobody is saying that it was perfect last year and all of a sudden it like this. No. We know that the marketing board has had issues over the years. But you say you're going to fix it. But instead of fix it, you make it worse. Because at least this time last year, I could have gone in marketing board and I'm sure I could have get some bacalao, both boned and unboned. I could have get all sort of thing. Now when I walk in marketing board, I don't wonder about why they come inside here for. Because look, this shelf, that shelf empty, and this one missing thing, and that one do a thing. That the kind of madness. That is the kind of madness that you're seeing happening. And then they want you to talk about that. You must stay quiet. Yeah? They want you to talk about those things. They want you to stay quiet. Because as many of you that got the message today would have seen, they once again have reported the Facebook page Talking Points, and they once again have tried to get our YouTube account and our Facebook account shut down. Because they find that too much information, relevant information, is coming out of this program, and as such, they're trying their very best. Their very best they're trying to get rid of this program. Yeah? We know that. That's what they're trying. They want to get rid of this program. But they have another thing coming.
People in despair wanting me to sing about their suffering. People struggling, a struggler like me. And those who need to hear how much to...
Yeah, let me say good night to Godfrey, Ibrahim, Aziye, Kathy, Matthew, Hayes, good night to you, Londell, and Caitlin, Beavis, special good night, Philip, good night to you as well. Yeah, special good night to all of you. And here's what I mean, the East waters are calm, man. I ain't taking no ferry going on the East Coast easy now, man. I'm telling you straight up. I ain't taking no, because first for the ferry to go on the East Coast, if it coming from town, it had to go around the bottom of the island there, and then it had to go up. I ain't taking that chance now, brother.
There, but left to me alone, I would not dare. The pleasures of life.
So it's not a matter, as one person is asking, they're asking about what the last administration did with the Marketing and National Importing Board. But I don't know if probably you have a problem with the internet connection, Terrace, in your area. I don't know if you had a problem with the internet connection there. But I said clearly that the problems with the Marketing and National Importing Board pre-existed this government. But this government said that they're going to fix it. Instead, between then and now, we've seen a serious deterioration in the situation with the Marketing and National Importing Board. So I don't know if you probably had an internet connectivity problem, so that parts of what I saying dropped off and you didn't hear it. But I made the point of saying that Marketing Board has had a pre-existing problem. But at the same token, efforts must be made to pay the suppliers who are supplying goods and services to the Marketing and National Importing Board. Because these are not multi-millionaires and multi-billionaires. These are not even thousandaires in some instance. These are people that are trying to make ends meet. So that some structure needs to be put in place in order that finances can be given to these people. Simple. If you didn't understand before, I hope that you now understand after I've made it a lot clearer. Because again, everything is about what the last administration do, what the last administration do. No. That's a cop-out. That is a cop-out. This administration promised you're going to fix it. And nobody, don't get me wrong, nobody expect you to fix it with a drop of a hat in 30 days, or in 90 days, or in 100 days. But at least you need to see some effort being made in fixing it, and you need to see at least it remains the same or some improvements instead of a quick deterioration in the situation. All the time they were saying, for instance, let's look at another state body, the Grenada Postal Corporation. For years, they're telling you, this one owned the Postal Corporation and that one owned the Postal Corporation. Why they don't come out to you and tell you who's the owner of the Grenada Postal Corporation now? Instead of that, instead of they come and have a post-cabinet press briefing, they hide in and say they go talk to you when you need to hear. They go tell you what you need to know when they feel you need to know. So you may have questions that you would like to ask. Brenda, good night. You may have questions that you would like to ask of this administration. But when come time to ask them, they are nowhere there. And even when they put up a forum as the town hall meeting, they see the people in between and get them questions to come and ask. And the people and them, you hear they reading the questions out. And then you have the embarrassing situations when you have things like a minister being asked a question and then somebody who is not a minister, who is not a senator, who is not even a government official in any capacity. I think they're just sitting on about 3 boards, is called and asked to answer the question instead of the minister. I mean, come on. Seriously. Today's Tuesday. Cabinet would have sat yesterday. Someone should be on to report to the Grenadian people on their business. Even if you want to report on Sheldon Scott, come and report on Sheldon Scott. But speak to the Grenadian people. It is disrespectful to simply, you don't even send out a release saying no post, well, unless you take me off your list, but you don't even send out a release saying no post-cabinet press briefing. It is disrespectful to the Grenadian people. Again, we know the projects and so taking place are NNP projects. We know that. But still, there may be something that you have come up new with. Come and speak to the Grenadian people. What, you're afraid to face the Grenadian people? It must be that the Prime Minister is the one that comes out and speaks to the Grenadian people. So far, with all the ministers they have there, how much of them you ever see on postcab? How much of them? Most of them have never appeared. Instead, what they do, they have their specific NDC program and they go where they're comfortable, where specific questions set up to ask them and that kind of thing. And they go nice and they're comfortable and they go there and they speak. If that was the NNP doing that, would be a problem. If the new National Party had said they're not doing any post-cabinet unless they feel to talk to you, which is basically what was said by the NDC administration. They ain't doing no post-cabinet unless they feel to talk to you. If it was the new National Party doing that, you would not hear the end of it. You would have seen a letter come out from the Regional Press Association, from the Grenada Media Association. You would have seen all kind of trade unions and non-governmental organizations, and everybody would have come out and attack the new National Party and say, who you feel you is, you're only talking to us when you want. But it's happening now, and everybody on mute, they have mutitis. Everybody tongue hiding. They lost the ability to speak. But if that had been taking place under a NNP administration, we papa, you would not have it easy. Look, I remember Honorable Kate Skeeter-Lewis, when she came in about, I think it's 2015, 2016, she came in. And after her first cabinet meeting, she had to go and face the nation on post-cabinet. After her first meeting, she had to go and face the nation on post-cabinet. You have government ministers that sit down there how much months now, and they ain't coming and report to the people. And then they come in, they ain't even going out in the communities. Some of them just going. I see it happening in St. John's. Yeah, all you could call my name, I could call all your own too. I see it happening in St. John's. They just going into a community, they snap a 2 picture, they throw it up on Facebook. Oh, I'm meeting with the people in the community. And then they go on about their business to disappear again. But when people have issues, that they want to speak to you about, you know where to be found. And then you're saying you're trying to blame the NNP now about NNP this and NNP that, and oh, you don't have an office. But you had an office before? How were you able to interact with the people? Just say you're broke and you don't want to go because you're afraid to ask you for money now. And some all you're saying it. Just admit it. I broke. I don't want to go in the community because I'm afraid they ask me for money. That is what's going on. Bottom line. So somebody messaged me to tell me 2017, that Honorable Kate Skeeter Lewis, then as a senator, had to face post-cabinet. After, imagine, you go to cabinet, you get sworn, you go to cabinet for the first time Monday. You barely even settle your first, and cabinet is not an easy thing sometimes. Oh gosh. It's not an easy thing to face. And then after you come out of cabinet, the first thing they do is they send you to go and face the general public the next morning. That ain't easy. That ain't easy to do. But again, as I tell you, it's a lack of respect because there's no leadership. A leader builds a team. A leader knows how to utilize the different members of their team, and they know the strengths and weaknesses of different members of their team. And they don't avoid people who they believe are weak. You don't avoid focusing on their weaknesses. You build their weaknesses into strengths. That's what you do. But in this case, unless the Prime Minister is available, it ain't look like we have no post-cabinet. Unless he's available, it ain't look like we have no post-cabinet. Yeah? Ministry of Health, they start with the CT services and all these kind of things. Okay. Send Senator Lacret. What is taking place in agriculture? They say a lot is taking place in agriculture. What about the spice replanting program that the Prime Minister spoke about days during the election period, the election night, I believe, and all? And in the days after the general election, everybody's supposed to get a spice hunting and plant up hunting by now. You're afraid to tell us about that? You're saving everything to come and tell us in the budget? You're saving everything to come and tell us then? I hope after the budget, at least we start to get weekly post-cabinet press briefings, because I believe it is disrespectful to the Grenadian people not to do that. I believe it is disrespectful to not even tell the media fraternity. And media fraternity, all they sit down there and all they taking all the data as sheep. All they taking all the data as sheep for whatever reason. Some of you sit down there and taking your debt as sheep. And then they tell you, if you want to find out something, contact the press secretary. And then some of you send in questions to the press secretary, and it's like they even bothering to read it because you ain't even getting a response in relation to different issues. So let me ask all you. Yeah. Michelle, good night, girl. Let me give all you one. Here's what we're asking at the next post-cabinet press briefing, media fraternity. According to a release by the Grenada Ports Authority, there have been cases of malfeasance. That is a nice way of putting it. Malfeasance, fraudulent activity, robbery taking place at the Grenada Port Authority. One individual was accused. We don't know if the person is back on the job because we've heard nothing from the Andre. Well, I'm afraid to talk. You sign a non-disclosure or something. But tell us what's going on, Jed. Yeah, tell us. Let me see something out from Tahu and thing, brother. Yeah, send it out. Nice. But one young lady was accused of doing something wrong, but she didn't do that something wrong by herself. Can the government of Grenada tell us who are the other individuals implicated in that wrongdoing? Can the government of Grenada deny that the rumors out there in the public, the allegations out there, are that a sitting government minister are one of the people implicated in what took place on the Port Authority that led to the shutting down of the port? A sitting, not a former government minister. Don't try and blame Dr. Mitchell for this. All you're weak. All you're desperate because you're trying to shift the discussion away from this. Now, it was sent out. It was sent out by the Grenada Ports Authority. Right? So it wasn't sent out by the New National Party. It wasn't sent out by me. It wasn't sent out by Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell. It was sent out by the Grenada Ports Authority. And folks, it is now 1 minute after the hour of 9 o'clock on the Spice Isle. We just have 59 minutes remaining in tonight's program. And remember to like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. In fact, I'm telling everybody share and all kind of thing. I'm so busy. I don't even share myself. Lord, Bonji, I go share just now. Nice? But like, share, subscribe. So folks, I'm saying that we're hearing that there's a possibility that a sitting minister is part of the whole debacle that ended up costing the Grenadian business community millions upon millions of dollars. I know of some medium-sized businesses that lost significant amounts of money because they had goods that were supposed to be here by a particular time and were not here. And as such, they lost money. I know bigger businesses. I was speaking to one businessman just a few nights ago. In that businessman mind, he's suing the Port Authority and he's suing the union. Because how they could allow this to happen? That business person speak to the lawyer because they say they ain't going down so, they lose too much money on this one, it ain't going down so. Have you heard the government of Grenada calling the business community and say, let's discuss this together with the union? Let's discuss this because the union take a strike action that the government is now saying is illegal because all of a sudden NDC know what is illegal strike and what is legal strike. They just learned that one. That is a new thing for them. So they come out, some people get lockjaw now, Gil. Yeah, some people get lockjaw. Stephen, good night, bruh. Yeah. England. Yeah, man, no worry. I know you up to watch World Cup and all kind of thing. Night, Stephen. Yeah. Now, you know that something wrong took place on the Port Authority. And don't worry, Sheldon ain't involved. I ain't involved, but something wrong took place on the Port Authority. Why is it they're trying to hush it up right now? Why is it that all of a sudden there seems to be a wall of silence building around the issue? So they think that issuing a press release and saying that the issue is now resolved and that there is no longer an issue taking place at the Port Authority is going to silence everybody on the issue. No, you're not going to silence me. Yeah? You're not going to silence me on it. We need to know who are the parties involved, not just the young lady. That is one. And to try and frighten the young lady, they start to circulate a picture and all kind of thing. Only don't forward it. Don't do that. It's other people who picture should be circulating. So they're circulating the picture of the young lady and saying, that's the young lady. Because they want her to be shamed now to walk around. They want her to just start to organize and leave Grenada. That's the intention, you know. They want her to leave because they feel if she leave Grenada right now, then that is the end of the matter. And who was involved in the wrongdoing? Because if she was issuing passes, who was collecting the passes? If she was issuing passes, who are the people that were using the passes or the businesses that were using the passes to leave the port of St. George without paying? Who are the vehicles belonging to, or which company did the vehicles belong to that were leaving the port in the dark of night? Not in the daytime, you know, in the dark of night. They probably had some in the day, you never know. So who were the people that were benefiting from what she was doing or working along with her in that? Is the FIU looking into that? Has a file been put together and passed to the DPP in relation to that? That's why I keep telling the young lady, don't go down so, talk with your lawyer. Yeah, your union, right. Yeah, talk to your lawyer. And don't go down so. Turn pamasa. If you know what that mean, turn state's witness. In this case, the state is a kind of thing. But anyway, yeah, sell them out. Don't take your data sheep. Because they start circulating your picture and your name because they want you to feel shame to walk in town. That is what they're doing, you know. All of this have an element of psychology to it. They want to embarrass you. They want to make you shame to walk in town. So that if you walk in town, People go point you and thing and you go feel embarrassed and you go shame and you go want to stay home instead. And then you will get fed up and say, well, I can't take it in Grenada anymore. Let me go somewhere else. Let me go in the States and meet this relative. Or let me go in England and meet that relative. Or let me go Canada and meet that relative. That is why they're doing what they're doing, you know. They're trying to make you leave. But this is your home. This is your country and nobody should make you go. So they're trying to cover it up. And I really hope I hear from Comrade Andre. Well, at least, even if you want to go and say it in Parliament, brother, say it in Parliament where you have parliamentary privilege. Yeah, you want to say it inside there and call name Andre. Say it in Parliament where you have parliamentary privilege. They can't hush you. Yeah? You have the right to speak inside there. And they can't sue you on what you say inside there. And they can't sue you anyway because it's the truth. You ain't going and say nothing inside. No, you, Andre. You ain't going and say nothing inside there that is not the truth. Because all of a sudden, the same unions that they had loved so much to help get them in power, the same unions that all of them went Labor Day, with the exception of the leader, went Labor Day, and they jam up in between. Whether it's TAU or Public Workers, or whichever union, they went and they jam up in between them. All of a sudden now, you all are the worst thing. I ain't hear they calling GUT yet. But if Teacher Jude ain't feel you own coming from this NDC government, wait, you go see Teacher Jude. Go and fight and quarrel with them to get some teachers made permanent. And say that they ain't bothering with you. You go and call a strike. You're going to be the worst human being on the planet for them. But you know some all ain't calling no strike and all kind of thing now, eh? We know some of you all ain't doing them kind of thing now. Because it have union leaders that may or may not be in their pocket. But I mean, come. Look at how they're attacking Daisy Hazard. Anybody that is being honest. Anybody that is being honest. And let me say that again. Anybody that is being honest will say that Daisy Hazard has been consistent in her statements in relation to the plights of workers and the rights of workers. Let me say that again. Anybody that is being honest will say that Daisy Hazard, present PRO, I think she is now, former president of the Public Workers Union, has been consistent in her statements in relation to the plights and the rights of workers as she sees them. We don't always agree and we'll never always agree. I don't have to agree with everybody. I don't agree with a lot of what Sister Daisy Hazard has done in the past. I don't agree with it. But as I said yesterday, if an NP cussing you and saying you're an NDC, and NDC cussing you and saying you're an NP, then you're a proper trade union leader? But if only one side cussing you, then something wrong. So she got cussed under NNP. They say she's an NDC. She said that workers need, contract work needs to end. Workers need proper tenure. They need this, they need that, the other. Right. She said it. Some of them playing now like they had wax in the ears back then and the wax now fall out. But she said it before, during the NNP time. Now when she says it, she's public enemy number one. And it's the kind of attacks they're putting down on her. Is Daisy she talk? Seriously. I used to get Daisy she talk. But the kind of attacks I see because, and I'm going to say this, some of the people who are attacking individuals, whether it's people in the unions, whether it's other people who are in the media, whether it's people who are in parliament and that sort of thing. Some of the people, the sycophants and brown nosers who are attached to the National Democratic Congress, the way that they're attacking people is that they are bordering on asking people to beat people when they see them. It's like they're trying to get people so upset with you that they go meet you in tongue, spit on you and slap you. Because the kind of things that they're saying about people and the type of emotions that they're trying to raise up about people is like they want somebody meet you and box you down. They want somebody meet you and slap you down. That's the kind of thing that they're getting on with. Marilyn, I ain't saying that one. But all of a sudden, we're not hearing from Teacher Jude. Teacher Jude, what's going on with all the teachers that are on contract? You can't say that the NNP didn't put quite a significant number off a contract and into permanent. So right now, the NDC, as part of the campaign strategy, we're saying to you all the teachers, and yes, I saw your Zoom meetings and so on, where certain discussions were taking place just in the week prior to the election. Don't feel I didn't see it. Don't feel I didn't hear it. Yeah? We all saw it. So now, yeah, the NDC is in office. How has the NDC being in office benefited teachers outside of those that had been striking illegally? Because now NDC know it's illegal strike after the pay. Now they know it's illegal strike. The courts ruled and said that that strike was illegal, right? And that the government didn't owe any responsibility to pay anybody for working during a period when they were not working. The courts ruled on that matter, right? But they were paid, and all well and good to you. Union leader, you want pay for your people, you get pay for your people, right? But all of a sudden, the teachers' union gone quiet. What's taking place with sanitization in the schools? Hand, foot, and mouth going around right now. Also has several colds that are going around, and so what's taking place with the sanitization in the schools? You have the Prime Minister go and make all kind of statements in relation. Well, let us make some kind of statement under them live. You have the Prime Minister going and making statements in relation to the faith program. And they make sure they watch one thing with the NDC. I like them, and they just walk with the audience. And they just tell the cameraman who to focus on in the audience. So when the Prime Minister come, he say, and the faith program, $6 million to them. Okay, $6 million, yeah. But there are some of them in the crowd, oh good! Why? They take all the money. $6 million. But when you know, a person with common sense, start to put your figures together, you realize, but wait, I could understand how $6 million was paid under that program. Because remember, let's look at the genesis of this entire thing. The teachers' union refused to go back into the classroom unless an immediate mechanism was put in place for the sanitization of the schools and the children coming in and all of that. They refused because remember, that was the point in time that everybody afraid with COVID. Nobody wanted to take a bus unless you have on mask. And if you see people on the bus without masks, you're cussing you. You want to go on that bus and thing, and the driver endangering people's life and all kind of thing. You didn't want to walk anywhere without mask. You're quarreling when you see people in sanitizing. You're quarreling when you see other people wearing the mask under their nose, all that kind of thing. That was the type of environment that we were in. So teachers, and I don't think teachers were wrong, said that for us to go back to the schools, you need to have a proper program in place for the sanitization of schools. Remember, children were doing at-home learning. So they had the device, and they had to sign in certain time for classes and so, and it was not the best. It was not the best. It was what could have been done at that point in time, but it was not the best. So he wanted to get children back into the classroom with direct learning. The union said the only way that's happening is if you put something in place to sanitize and so. So the faith program came on board. They provided the people. I think they started at around 500. Remember how much schools they have in Grenada? So you're speaking the pre-primary, the primary schools, and the secondary schools and so. Right? So the faith program came on. They got the people. They organized in the different communities. They had people going and doing the sanitization of the place and all of that. Now, each of these people had to be paid. They wasn't doing that free. And if you say the average, the lowest salary any one of these people receiving is $800. And I see somebody say, oh, the line wasn't 800, it was 700 and something. Yes, dim. It could be 700 and something after you take out NIS, but the salary is 800. Okay, dim. Right. So it is 800. Let me say 800 is the lowest salary anybody receiving. Multiply 800 by 500. In fact, no. Because when the program closed off in July or when, they probably had just under 400 people in it. So let's say 300 and let's leave it at 350 people that was under the program. So we're not even counting from the 500. We're going to count for the 350 people that were under the program when the NDC came in and refused to pay for the final couple months. Up to now, still refused to pay for the final couple months and saying, take us to court. That's how they don't care about poor people. Where you could have paid Faith so that Faith could have paid these people, instead you say, take us to court. We ain't care about that. Take us to court. Right? So multiply 350 people by 800 per month. And listen, not everybody was getting 800. You had people that were carrying out different duties that were earning more than 800. But let's say all 350, we're using the baseline figure. We're using 800. Multiply that 350 by 800. Then multiply the amount of money that you get on a monthly basis that had to be paid out there. Multiply that by the number of months that the Faith program was in place. And you would realize where the figure $6 million came from. But no, the Prime Minister go, he grin, he smile, and they give them $6 million. And we ain't paying. And if they want, they could go to court. Yeah, but who's suffering? It's not people that have a $3 and a $4 and a $5 million in the bank. That's suffering, It's people that need that $800. People that were contracted under Faith, and then you tell Faith, find the money and pay them. When you for yourself, if you work out how much the salary of these people were, and the records are there because they were paying NIS and so for these people, so you know who was employed under Faith. You have the figures. You know how much money was being paid to these individuals. The figures are there. And then you come and give the impression now that some government minister had all the money in Faith. So a government minister, in other words, or the NNP, take $6 million. That was the impression they were trying to give, but you for yourself multiply it. If it's 24 months, and again, we might start with 500 plus, but we're saying 350 people at $800 a month. Look at how much money that they was receiving in salaries. They had to pay out in salaries on a monthly basis, and then calculate that by the number of months. And they would see. But no, they didn't want you do all of that. So they just come out and they throw a figure, and they're trying to besmirch the character of individuals. Because see, it had people that was hoping that the NNP administration and the Ministry of Education at that point in time would not have been able to meet the requests by the teachers union to have these people to sanitize. It was done in the very shortest of time. Less than a month, it was done. That you had the system put in place and everything was put in place to have the sanitization taking place in the schools. Less than a month. But it had people at that point in time that was hoping that the whole thing never took place. So now they want to punish the people who got it done. So it's not a call. If you have evidence that a particular minister was the person signing checks for the organization at the time that that was taking place, or you have information that that minister was part of the company and that kind of thing at the time that this was taking place, then by all means do what you have to do. But in the interim, pay the poor people. Pay them the June and the July, and some of them I think they have money into August to get, because not all were sanitizing. Some were carrying out other duties. I think you had one or two that was doing security, different things. Pay the people. Now you don't want to pay Faith because saying Faith get enough money. But Faith was basically living hand to mouth. When they get the money, you could see, due to the volume of people that were working under them, that these people were the ones being paid, and that is where the money was going. So now you decide to suffer these people. And you're talking over 300 people here. And 300 people that are not rich, that are not even middle income. 300 people that are of the poorer class. That just because you want to grudge and play politics, you refuse to pay the money to the faith program to pay these people, and talking about go to court. And then you want to talk about, oh, they was a non-governmental organization, a non-profit organization, then show where they make a profit. Because the figure you call, they wasn't making no profit. So show where they were making a profit. Or they didn't come and bring in the documents. You tell me how many NGOs on the island have been bringing in their documents to gifts as they're supposed to be doing. Tell me how many of the different NGOs on the island over the last few years. Some of them does be talking about all kind of thing, calling people names, saying all kind of thing about people. Ask them if their NGO, when it existed, because some of them NGO don't even exist again. Ask them if they have been submitting their documents. Because most NGOs don't have financial people to go and put those documents together in the way it has to be put together to bring into gifts. So I'm not saying it's right. But I'm saying that's the excuse they're trying to use. When all they should do in the same way that you found money and paid the teachers, in the same way, pay the 300 people under faith now. Pay them. They carried out a duty. They were under a contract by the government of Grenada. But just out of wickedness. And then you all go telling them, oh, go by the minister for your money. The minister that have your money. Because you don't care about poor people. You don't care about them. If you had cared, you'd at least make sure you pay them and then make your argument. Even if you decide, well, we're going to pay them, and then we're going to make an argument and say that these people and them should not have been still on the payroll, they should have been gone, and that kind of thing. So for some things, government is a continuum. For other things, you don't care. So these people are being made and have been made to suffer. And months now, we in November, we nearly to the end of November. And the same way that you expedited, because we know that the New National Party left the money there, you said you meet the money there. In the same way that you find the money there and you're finding to do all kind of thing. All kind of thing. Make sure that you pay the faith people. Just trying to spite a particular ex-minister. Trying to brand the New National Party. And the same goes when you're talking about CJs too, Okay, if you have 15 constituency offices, and you have the various payments under those constituency offices that had to be done through CJs and all that kind of thing, you may not agree with what was being done. But to come and say that it was corrupt to do that is wrong. Because you could very well, with simple mathematics, you could take a child from preschool and give them to work out. And they could tell you that the amount of money that you've been speaking about and what had to be done on a monthly basis and the cost of what had to be done on a monthly basis basically left the contractor with nearly nothing in their hand. But you ain't going and say that. Instead, you're using that as the excuse now for why your people afraid to go out in the constituencies and meet with their constituents. We can't set up our office because this set up bad, and now we have to change that around to set up office, and we need furniture. Sit down on a carib crate if you have to sit down on a carib crate and meet the people in your constituency. Sit down on a drum pan if you have to do it, or sit down on the side of the wall. Stop using the excuse that you have to go and get proper furniture. In other words, they want couch and like they want divan. Like they want divan and all. Oh, we don't have furniture for the office, and we don't have this, and we don't have that, and we don't have the other. That is an excuse, really and truly. From some people that was able to add $2,000 onto the salary and say, what, for traveling and that kind of thing? Here's what. let's speak about that for a little bit. Let me see if this is fair. Let's say you have an MP who is living in St. Patrick, or who at least has to visit St. Patrick several times for the week. Even if they're not living there, but they have to go to meet with constituents or different things, they're living there, so they have to drive up. And people who drive from St. Patrick to Tong every day, you know what I'm talking about, right? So you know the gas usage you're talking about. So the gas usage of that minister who is living in St. Andrew or who is living in St. Patrick and has to come down to town every day is way more than the minister who living in Tong and could nearly even walk over to the complex. Some of them do it. It's one of them that might even have to take a vehicle to go over and they could walk. But yet still, you give all of them the same amount of money across the board. I've looked at the Jamaica system, and the rural ministers have a different arrangement to the ministers who are living closer to the capital. In other words, if you live in the rural community, so you have to transport yourself between the rural communities and the capital, there is one figure for those individuals. And then there's another figure for the individuals who are around the capital and therefore have to travel a shorter distance. But instead of that, before you all even pass your, what else call it again, when you spend 3 months, you even pass your probationary period. You add $2,000 onto your salary, the same salary that the New National Party parliamentarians that you keep saying all kind of negative things about were able to keep and survive on between 2013 and 2022. 9 years. They were able to say, well, okay, we ain't going and raise it. But you come now and you put on, so Minister A or Minister B, who is living in St. Andrew, or who is living in St. Patrick, and has to come down. Instead of saying, and then you say, oh, ministers used to go and full up and minister. Yeah, but if a minister is in St. Patrick, then they would use a different amount of gas to the minister that is in town. And it would have been reflected. The guy could tell you this, sir. Under the Keith Mitchell administration, Rhonda, good night. Under the Keith Mitchell administration, I remember, let me use myself as an example. I remember when I came into office, I did not have a vehicle. And I was not paid traveling allowance until I get a vehicle. But you have several ministers now collecting traveling allowance and they don't even have a vehicle. Who using this one vehicle, who using that one vehicle, all kind of thing. I know some of them say they have the big ride coming in this month and next month. All you go see it, man. All you go say how they say. Listen, they have a 100% concession. I don't find anything wrong with that. If you want to buy a nice vehicle, that is not my business. That is their business. Right? So if they buy the big ride and thing, don't jealous a person, because at the end of the day, let me tell you this, it's not the Grenadian people paying for it. You just have to pay for it. I've been through it, so I know. It's you have to go and face the bank and so and pay for yourself, or the credit union and pay for yourself. Right? So don't vex with them when you see they get a nice ride. They have a 100% concession, so they'll get the vehicle at a different cost. I just hope you get a ride in it and they don't drive with the window up. Anyhow, but I'm saying that as part of the Keith Mitchell cabinet, I would not receive traveling allowance until I had a vehicle for myself. I couldn't say I'm using a partner vehicle and give me the traveling allowance, I'm going to use it on that. But under this administration, whether you have, you don't have, you're getting traveling allowance. Whether you have. And then they come and they call other people corrupt and say other people this and other people that. As I've said before, in relation to this issue, it was wrong. It was wrong of a cabinet that hadn't even spent 40 days yet. Right? Yeah, they didn't even make a 40 nights. 40 nights is what we does thing after a person die and thing. Yeah, right. They didn't even spend 40 days. They went and they raised their salary. I ain't working for that. So bump it up. What is the impact on you, the taxpayer, on a monthly and yearly basis? They like to talk about taxpayers. And we like to talk about taxpayers. Let's talk about taxpayers. What is the impact? They didn't even work for it. You couldn't even look and say, well, hey, under an NDC budget, this person has achieved that under their ministry, and NNP was never able to do it, and nobody was able to do this, and nobody was able to do that, but this minister came in and they do it, so we give them a bump up in the salary. No, they spent 40 days in. Some of them were still having problem finding the office that was going in the wrong place, but they get an increase in salary. And then we supposed to say that that was right? That it was correct for that to take place? A new National Party administration when it comes to that issues, again, let me explain. New National Party belief on that kind of thing is that you form a salaries commission. You look at the issue of salaries across the board. Not just government ministers. You start from the Governor General, come right down to a cleaner, whether it be at a school or in a ministry or whatever. But you start from the top, go right down to the lowest salary scale. That is what you're supposed to do. Yeah? That is what you're supposed to do. And then you might say, well, the Governor General, when we check the salary scale of Governor Generals and presidents throughout the Caribbean region, we think we need to adjust the salary scale of your Governor General. And that you need to adjust the salary scale of your Prime Minister because you find there are people working in middle management in the private sector that are earning more. It are people working in the tourism sector that are earning more than your Prime Minister. And you may say, well, okay, so we need to adjust the Prime Minister's salary. We need to adjust the minister's salary based on the duties that they have to carry out. And because, as somebody just put here, the Prime Minister had said that they have to avoid corruption. So you may say that, and you say, okay, but at the same token, what about all those secretaries in the ministries that's still working for the same salary? What about the tea ladies that working in the parliament? What about the security guards that working in government structures all over the place? And while you're looking at the government service, what about the private sector? But instead of looking at all of that as one, so that when you do it, you adjust salary scales across the board, you fix up yourself, and then after you're starting to talk about, well, we go try to look at everybody else. They fix up themselves. And now we go try to look, and they ain't done yet, you know. Because still, remember, after they have taken this $2,000, well, $2,500, if you really look at it, increase onto their salary, which was already around the region of $7,000 a month, they've taken an additional $2,500 on top of that. So they're nearing $10,000 a month there. They're also saying in addition to that, and I heard the Prime Minister making a statement along those lines, that he believes that each minister now should receive some money for the parliamentary as parliamentary representative then. That they should be receiving monies as parliamentary representative to do projects and so on within the constituency that they have been elected for. I ain't saying no, but I'm saying that if you have to do things like that, if you have to create another layer, because you're not speaking here about the Ministry of Works doing something in that constituency. You're not speaking here about the Ministry of Sports doing that in that constituency, or any other ministry, the Ministry of Agriculture or whatever, doing something in that. You're speaking about the parliamentary representative. But while you're talking about that, the tea ladies still at the same salary since the 1970s or 1980s or whatever, or 1990s, who knows? And you have categories of workers whose salary have been stagnant for an extended period of time. And don't come and tell me I only know that now. NNP didn't take the salary increase, NDC did. So don't come and try and tell me you only know that now, or NNP only know that now. NNP was not the party that took a salary increase before they even finished the probationary period. You could imagine what would have happened. And I remember Honorable Tobias Clement made a statement about the amount of money that parliamentarians receiving. Because right now, opposition parliamentarians, what is $1,200 or $1,500 a month, I think they're getting as opposition parliamentarians. I think opposition senators, I think it's $1,000, was $800. I think that bump it up to $1,000. I think it's $1,000 a month they're getting. In other words, the money trainees getting more than, yeah, Imani trainees getting more than what some of them getting as parliamentarians. They didn't talk about addressing that. When you see the different representatives and so, they didn't talk about addressing that. But before they finish their probationary period, they bump their money up. And after they bump their money up, they hiding from you. Because they're using all excuse now why they can't come in the constituency. Anybody go and apply for a job, you have to spend 3 months. 3. Before you are hired fully by that entity. That's what most business places do, isn't it? They didn't even spend 40 days, much less 3 months. They went and they said, me working for that, you know. They barely even get a first paycheck. By the time the second one looking to come, they went and increased it. What about the agricultural officers who out there? What about the predial larceny officers and the police officers? What about the police officers who are out there in the day and the night? So the last government, you want to say, didn't increase their money. So you want to blame the last government didn't increase their money. Okay, they vote for you to increase it. Instead of increasing theirs, you increase yours. What benefits have the men and women of the Royal Grenada Police Force gotten from you so far? What have they got? They're out there working hell hard. Right now, rain falling, they can't say they're going inside, they're outside. They can't hide. But with all of that, you found it necessary to give your... Listen, it is unconscionable what has been done. And I don't know, I'm surprised that so many Grenadians go on mute on that and ain't really saying nothing. That is unconscionable. That these people have given themselves that significant increase before some of them even know what the job... So I come for a job, you say the job is $2,000 a month. And I come on the job, and before I finish my first month, I tell you, nah, you had to increase that to $4,000 by the end of the month. And I didn't even start the job yet to really understand what's taking place with it. Because if they had understood what was taking place with the job, they wouldn't have to call back letters in the Ministry of Sports. They wouldn't be firing and rehiring. They wouldn't be doing the hatchet man thing that's taking place up there in Carriacou. Sending home people because you find they went to an NNP rally or they wear a green shirt or their cousin is in relation to the minister that was there before. Or there's a relative of some minister or so, or somebody who's high up in the NNP. Just firing left, right, and center. Don't worry. Election day will come again. You know. Just remember, every day is one day closer to the next election. Because already over 100 days closer to the next election, you know. And before you blink twice, go be election time again. And don't feel the people that you're doing these wickedness to go and forget. Don't feel they go forget. That is why. And let me talk to you all in NPIs here now. That is why they are going after the new voters. They're going after the first-time voters for the next election. NNPites. Registration, 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 registration. A person cannot add value to you on election day if they can't vote. Yeah, they might be able to help you bring people to vote and all that kind of thing. But their one vote could mean the difference between victory and losing. You saw what happened in St. John's, eh? You saw what happened in St. John's. Well, try to remember what happened in St. Patrick East back in the 1970s, where Dr. Wellington Friday won the seat by one vote. Registration, 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 and more registration. When you won in 2013, it is because you were very, very aggressive. Among other things, very, very aggressive with your registration. And remember something about those new voters. Those new voters You can't talk to them about Hurricane Ivan. The people who vote this election were born when Hurricane Ivan happened. Just before, just after. These people don't know. You can't tell them about Grenada, the mash up and who rebuild and all kind of thing. You can't tell them about when you had to make a phone call and you had to go to the phone booth in the village and you had your coin on them to make an emergency call also. You can't tell them about, they don't know nothing about that. All they know about is devices and that kind of thing. So you have to make sure that you speak to them and that you encourage them and have them registered and continue to speak the language to them. All right? And I'm seeing some comments here. Yeah, the police need a raise. Yes, I believe that the police need a raise. Because if you give yourself a raise and you give people money that they ain't work for, then at least you could give the police a look at something too. And folks, remember saying all of this in the context of they also have to find an additional $500,000 a month now to pay the new people that they've added onto the pension, the 500 plus people. They've got to find at least around $500,000. If it's less than that, it's not by much. So they've got to find, and we probably hear the exact figure in the budget, at least I hope we hear the exact figure in the budget of what it is going to cost government on a monthly basis now that these 500 plus people have been added onto the basically the wage bill, because you pay pensions and wages at the same time. So that you have to find now $500,000 a month to pay those. And then remember that there are over 1,000 people within the public service right now that could take retirement, early retirement. They've qualified. They've made their number of years. So they could take the grant or the gratuity, whatever you want to call it. They could take that now and leave. What happens if they wouldn't be on the monthly pension bill again, but until they reach the age, which should be 60. But again, remember speaking last night about the fact that the age might be bumped up from 60 to 61. Then it might stay there for a little while and then it bumps up to 62. Then it might have it there for a little while until it gets up to 65. Right? But then somebody could challenge it in court because according to certain aspects of the Constitution, if you put a law in place, it cannot be disadvantageous to somebody who was already employed when something more advantageous was in place for them, which is basically the basis that the 1958 Pension Act was implemented in the case of these 500 plus people. Yeah? So you have that, all of these are situations that you have to face. But you're not hearing that kind of discussion from the government. And when we speak about it on this program, what they do, they attack the host and they attack the people who are on the program. Good night, Candy. Yeah? Leslie Ann, good night. They attack the people who are on the program. And oh Lord, I forgot you all on YouTube a little bit. No, let me come back there. Yeah, Natalia and Kelvin. Yeah, good night. Baby Daddy, good night. Yeah? He was on GBN praising the NDC tonight, that teacher Jude. Well, what do you expect him to be doing? Yeah? What all you expect from teacher Jude? Teacher Jude watching what they're doing to Daisy, you know, if really going on that road. He watching what they're doing to Brian Grimes. He watching what they're doing to Andre. He watching what they're doing to Daisy. You feel teacher Jude at the belly to go and take them last day too? Nah, he go play it nice. He go in and calm down. Yeah? He go in and steady. He ain't going and get no trouble. He go in and praise the people. Yeah? And Errol, oh gosh, Errol, good night to you, man. But remember, folks, when the program is over, you could always go and rewatch it. And you could always share it with someone. Whether you want to share it on WhatsApp and different, just copy the link and share it on WhatsApp and that kind of thing. Whether it's the YouTube or the Facebook, you can share it and so. All right, we have just roughly 14 minutes remaining. If anybody wants to call, you can call now. but we have roughly about 14 minutes remaining for tonight's program. Remember, we're on tomorrow night and on Thursday night as well. Yeah, it'll be slightly different tomorrow night and Thursday night, but we will be on tomorrow night and on Thursday night as well. All right, so we're going to be on both of them. And again, the phone number 440-7377 and 347-329-3101. Those are the two numbers that you can call to get on the inside. You know, it's about to take a water break, you know. Some people tell me anytime I take any water break, I have to play a particular tune. So you know what? Let me play the tune while I take the water break, because it's not that water. Yeah.
Promise one public service. Everybody will be made permanent. Nobody going home. Take Susu in you. I don't believe in superstition. Something wrong with the transformation. From the 10 boys drink the water. Strange thing happening in Grenada. 3 houses born in Victoria. 2 born in St. David soon after. David Anderson and his brother. We had suicide and murder. Who tell them drink the water? The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, like they put a spell on Grenada. They run to drink the water. The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, they start to reverse Grenada. Pitimatic, Tariku, Grenada, and it's that. Juve Manina hold my head and ball. PM player jump and play my wall. But it's not league and I remember he drank the transformation water. And when I listen to the AG, if they do wicked, well they crazy. If you don't support the agenda, they treat you like fish out of water. Who tell them drink the water? The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, like they put a spell on Grenada.
I'm seeing someone mentioning that Senator Andre Lewis did an interview with one of the local stations. So I'm going to make sure that I listen to that after tonight's program. I'm going to listen to that.
Every time I put on my TV, see me Minister of MIT. By Django says, Malak, don't panic. The whole government photogenic. If they go to the bathroom to pee, posting it up for the world to see. Taking out pictures like circus clown. On the ballin', boots on the ground. Who tell them drink the water? The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, like they put a spell on Grenada. They run to drink the water. The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, they start to reverse Grenada. They say that fella never sleep here. Drink the water too and he get glad. Then he take a rake in Carrico and he start to rake up them people. Brian and Daisy say the man don't care. He transfer a woman to Limley. They say how she wear a green jersey. So get rid of all those NNP. Who tell them drink the water? The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, like they put a spell on Grenada. They run to drink the water. The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, they start to reverse Grenada. If you sit at the report in Grenville, what does work and bump like a square wheel? Tell these Malaks cannot understand. How come he don't get a position? Philip is chairman and Nawasa. Glenn is ambassador to Cuba. Keto is the new house speaker. They should make you Facebook minister. Who tell them drink the water?
Yes, indeed, 10 minutes remaining on tonight's program. Let me say a very, very special good night to all of the listeners via 89.5 CRFM. Martin and Miss B.
Same lady what mess up Jelly, no. Mess up Dennis in conference also. Now she is a big minister. I want to say glory, hallelujah. To sing that song you really brave. Dennis must be turning in the grave. Holy old man take all the money and send him straight to the same.
See these guys, next thing I'm going and sing thing and put me in problem. Sometime I have to be careful, eh? Nice. Yes, indeed, folks. So remember the phone number 440-7377. I realized last night when the program ends, that when the phone starts to ring. 440-7377. All right, that's one of the numbers you can call to get onto the inside of tonight's program. And remember, we have received the bit of equipment we were looking for to be able to take the WhatsApp calls. So we will be taking, not tonight, but we will be taking the WhatsApp calls and that sort of thing. All right, nice. That is coming sooner rather than later. Nice.
They treat you like fish out of water. Who tell them drink the water?
And you know, with all that's going on, what are the income generating avenues that you're hearing the government speaking about? Yeah, take as much money as possible from Lotto. Yeah, I hear about that. All right, okay, that's taking place. 18,000 this way, how much thousand that way, that kind of thing, right? So that's one avenue. Getting whatever money you could get out of things like Lotto. CBI. Raiding CBI like what? Because I realize, like, for instance, even things like salaries and things, it appears, I'm going to ask the question, it appears that money is coming out of CBI to pay things like, that is not what CBI money is supposed to be used for. CBI money is supposed to be used for transformative and transformational things within the country. But I realize all of a sudden now, like CBI money is for everything. And the thing is, remember, while your country may be making hundreds of millions of dollars or millions of dollars out of the CBI program, CBI programs are not sure to last past the year 2025, you know. Because remember, within the American House of Representatives, there is a move to sanction countries with CBI programs, to remove whatever benefits they have and so on, and to basically do what is necessary to get rid of the CBI programs. Outside of that, you also have the same situation in the British Parliament. And there's talk of the same happening in the European Parliament. In fact, I listened to a presentation by one of the members in the European Parliament, and they are being pressured by the UK and the US in relation to this issue of the citizenship by investment programs that are taking place in the Caribbean and other countries, not just the Caribbean, because it's not just Grenada and countries down here that have a CBI program. So if your government is planning that the things that they're going to do in the future are based solely upon revenues coming from CBI, then brother and sister, we have a serious problem, you know. Because we ensure we'll have a CBI program. Remember, once upon a time you had your offshore banking system taking place. Not just in Grenada, but throughout the Caribbean, you had offshore banking. And remember, there were moves by these same countries and groupings to get rid of offshore banking. And that was it for it. It's the same thing that you see starting to take place now in relation to CBI. Because remember, they never like when they see smaller countries like Grenada and St. Kitts and all of these countries have a program like this, because it is taking money out from their country. What they're seeing is that a multi-millionaire or billionaire, let's say a billionaire, who otherwise would be paying taxes in their country, is no longer paying taxes in their country because they say, I am not a citizen of the United States. I'm a citizen of another country, and therefore my tax obligations are now in that other country. And the tax obligations in the other country may not be as heavy and as drastic as the tax obligations in the US or the UK or one of the European countries. So they're saying that, okay, I'm going to say I'm a citizen of one of the other countries, and therefore these countries are losing revenue that otherwise they would have. So they are fighting against programs like that. They're trying to get rid of the citizenship by investment program. But again, and I've said it before, I'll say it again now, it's a good thing that the new National Party does not have to change its message in relation to anything. The message of the new National Party in relation to the CBI program has been consistent over the years. It has been that it is a good and proper program to earn revenue for Grenada. It is a good and proper program once it is properly managed, and that is in conjunction with other countries. For instance, whichever country somebody applies from, They have to be cleared by the courts and the security system, etc. in that country. In other words, they have to get a certificate of character from that country. And you relate between the FIU here and whoever and whichever country it is. If they're from Saudi Arabia, if they're from whatever country. But the dangerous thing that we have to note, and remember, Grenada is in the news in relation to CBI, but not for something that was done by the NNP, for what was done by the NDC administration. The NNP administration earlier this year barred individuals from Belarus and Russia from being able to obtain any citizenship by investment in the state of Grenada. St. Kitts did the same. Dominica did the same. And the rest of countries in the region with CBI programs, Dominica and so did the same. All of them still have that ban on these individuals in place. Grenada alone has removed the ban. So what you find happening now are that people from Belarus and Russia, and even Ukraine, because some Ukrainians are sanctioned as well, you find people from these countries now see that Grenada is where they can go, get citizenship by investment, claim to be a Grenadian citizen, and avoid service in the Russian army and that sort of thing. So if there is a person that's rich enough over there, but their child is of the age that they can be drafted into the army, they're getting Grenadian citizenship and getting around it. And then there are other people that may be sanctioned sooner rather than later from Russia and so on, that are also obtaining CBI passports here in Grenada right now. And this was done by the NDC administration, not by the NNP. The NNP put a stop to it. They put a hold on it. The NDC administration. And listen, they didn't even form a cabinet yet, you know. They did not even form a cabinet yet, and they reopened it. So I'll ask a question, and it's just a question. What was the rush to reopen applications from people from Russia and Belarus and Ukraine and so that was stopped by the NNP? What was the rush to do that even before you had a first parliament sitting? Even before you had a cabinet? What was the rush? Were there people that were knocking on your door? I'm asking. I'm not saying that is what happened. I'm asking if it are Russian people and so that finance certain aspects of a certain political party in power campaign and therefore were looking for the payback. I'm asking if that is the situation. Because I can't understand that Dominica banned them, they still had them banned. St. Kitts banned them, they still had them banned. I think St. Lucia has a program. No, I think St. Lucia has a program here. They have them banned. They didn't remove the ban. The only country to remove the ban is Grenada. And they did not do that under the NNP. They did it under the NDC before you had a cabinet put together and right after a general election. So you can't say the NNP do that, as you have attempted to do. Because as I said, maybe we need to have a larger discussion in relation to the issue of campaign financing, because I realize like some people are afraid to have that discussion. They want to go and accuse people of certain things, but they wouldn't come and talk about, you know, it's like somebody, they box down your bread, but they're eating their own behind the wall. So they want to box down your bread from your hand, but they're eating their own behind the wall. So if you want to talk about the issue of campaign financing, let's have a full discussion in relation to that issue. Yeah? Let's get at it. And let's have a full discussion. Yeah, if you all look during the comments there, you'll see the article in the New York Post, one of the most respected publications in the world. The New York Post. When something goes there, it goes all over the world. And they're speaking about Grenada being the haven now for Russians who are trying to run out of Russia. That is what's taking place under this NDC administration. Folks, that's all the time we have for tonight. It's been wonderful being here with you. It's now 1 minute after the hour of 10 o'clock. Time for me to get out of here. Yeah, it's been wonderful being here with you. In whatever you say and do it safe and secure. Because we want to be speaking to and with you. And we definitely, in the past tense, don't want to be speaking about you. Love each and every one of you. I'm Sheldon Scott. I'm out. Remember, we're on tomorrow night, God's willing, from 8 p.m. with more talking points for you.
You promise one public service. Everybody will be made permanent. Nobody going home. Take Susu in you. I don't believe in superstition. Something wrong with that transformation. From the 10 boys drink the water. Strange thing happening in Grenada. 3 houses born in Victoria. 2 born in St. David soon after. David Anderson and his brother. We had suicide and murder. Who tell them drink the water? The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, like they put a spell on Grenada. They wrong to drink the water. The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, they start to reverse Grenada. Pitty-matic, Carico, Grenada, and it's that. Juve man in a hold my head and ball. PM player jump and climb a wall. But it's on the then I remember he drank the transformation water. And when I listen to the AG, if they do wicked, well they crazy. If you don't support their agenda, they treat you like fish out of water. Who tell them drink the water? The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, like they put a spell on Grenada. They wrong to drink the water. The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, they start to reverse Grenada. Every time I put on my TV, see the minister of MIT. By Django says small and no panic. The whole government photogenic. If they go to the bathroom to pee, posting it up for the world to see. Taking out pictures like circus clown. On the ballon, boots on the ground. Who tell them drink the water? The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, like they put a spell on Grenada. They wrong to drink the water. The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, they start to reverse Grenada. They say that fella never sleep here. Drink the water too and he get glad. Then he take a rake in Carrico and he start to rake up them people. Brian and Daisy say the man don't care. He transfer a woman to Limley. They say how she wear a green jersey. So get rid of all those NNP. Who tell them drink the water? The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, like they put a spell on Grenada. They wrong to drink the water. The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, they start to reverse Grenada.